Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Red Couch Podcast. I'm your host, Micah, and today joining me again is a very special guest, Mr. Talin Golightley, for our Week 3 picks. Hey, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well, man. I'm excited to be back and hopefully can do a little better this week with the picks.
Oh, yeah. We were shooting about 40-50% last week. I feel like we're going to be shooting 100 for sure this week. Well, you want to go ahead and jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. In our first game, we've got the Carolina Panthers at the Houston Texans on Thursday, and Carolina is a 7.5-point favorite. And who do you have winning that game, sir?
I have Carolina covering the 7.5. I think with Davis Mills starting for Tyrod Taylor, who's out this week, I just don't like their odds. Tyrod Taylor made a lot of plays, especially in the first half of the Cleveland game last week, and they're going to miss his playmaking. So, yeah, I have Carolina.
Likewise. And yeah, I mean, the Texans are argue up the 10th most yards per play, and Carolina has the number one rush and pass defense going into week 3. So yeah, I think that the Panthers are going to pretty handily take care of the Texans. All the Texans have been giving a lot more of a fight than I thought they were, and I really respect that because they have come out to play both of these weeks so far.
Oh yeah, they're playing inspired, and it's actually a pretty cool story, with everything going on in the franchise. It's cool to see these guys go out and compete, and I mean they've covered the last 2 weeks. So
yeah, I feel like Dave Coley got put in a crap spot, but they're working their butts off for it, and I respect it.
Yeah,
and
I do as well.
Speaking of teams who are not putting out an inspirational effort, the Jaguars play host to the Cardinals, and Arizona is a 7.5-point favorite. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna go ahead and take Arizona minus 7.5. I know that's pretty chalk up to this point, but Urban Meyer, there's just so much going on down there. That offense is not efficient whatsoever. I think that Kyler Murray is gonna have a field day against that Jaguars defense, and yeah, I mean, Arizona just has too many playmakers. That Jacksonville secondary was bad to begin with this season, and it's gone downhill from there. So I'm taking Arizona by a lot.
Yeah, and the Jaguars defense gives up 8.3 net yards per attempt. They're ranked 26th in the league at 30 points per game, and their offense, pass, and rush are both 26th in the league. I think that the Cardinals are going to kind of go in there. Kyler Murray's going to do his thing, and Arizona's going to move on over to 3-0. So, moving right on to our next game, we've got the Colts taking on the Titans in Nashville. The Titans are 5.5-point favorites, and yeah, I think that the Titans are going to cover. I think that they are the better team. And have you heard, is Carson Wentz out for sure with the double sprained ankles?
He's day to day. He had a press conference today where he said he's throwing the kitchen sink at it. At the problem, it's like I don't think that's good for your ankles to be throwing kitchen sinks.
Hope not.
Even if he plays, I don't feel good about 2 sprained ankles like simultaneously. He also said I think his right is worse than his left, so they're varying degrees of sprains. I don't like that. That does not sound good. Yeah.
Does not sound pretty at all. And I mean, both our defenses to this point have been pretty porous. I mean, they're I think the Colts are the 4th worst in yards per play at 6.7, and the Titans are 3rd worst at 6.8. So I mean, both defenses have played pretty effing terribly. But yeah, I think that the Titans and Derrick Henry are about to just run that train on over.
Yeah, I definitely see the Titans offense being the difference maker. I just think that they can outpower and outscore that Colts team, or that Colts offense. And I think Darius Leonard's dealing with some sort of ankle issue. Like he's already admitted to it. Like he's not looking like himself, and they just don't look like the same defense as last year.
Yeah, I mean, that man's a monster, so he's a big loss to not have him there. All right, in our next game, we've got the Ravens at the Lions. And Baltimore's a 7.5-point favorite. I think we're probably both in the same boat on this game as well. Who do you have?
I actually have Detroit at plus 7.5.
Nice.
Yeah,
but you have the Ravens winning.
Yes, I have the Ravens winning, but I think Detroit will cover the 7.5. I think the Ravens are coming off of a very emotional win last week. That was basically their Super Bowl. All the all the like the media stuff from the locker room was cracking me up after it looked like they won the Super Bowl by beating the Chiefs in a
Yeah, at home.
week 2 game at home. Like that was their Super Bowl. And I think they're going to be a little flat coming out, and I think Detroit's like hungry. Like I think Dan Campbell, the Fighting Dan Campbell's, like we said last week, it's one of my favorite like Twitter narratives about Dan Campbell at the moment, but I think that they're just going to go out and play hard every week and see what they have. And I think that coaching staff in Detroit will maximize like the players. I think everybody loves him there. Kevin Clark for The Ringer wrote an awesome piece about Dan Campbell and like who he is and his coaching style and like building a culture in Detroit where there hasn't been like there's been a void, a black hole of culture. So I believe in them covering quite a bit this year. I just think they're going to go out and play as hard as they can.
Likewise, I took the Ravens actually at -7.5, but I do think it's going to be a really close game. So I probably am going to be wrong on the pick. I think the Ravens will still win, but I think it's probably going to be less than 7.5. But the Lions are the 12th best rush defense. I've given like a 3.8 yards per attempt. So I think they're actually going to be able to slow down the Ravens offense some, but I still believe that they're going to find a way. And the Ravens have played 2 very emotionally draining games in the first 2 games of the season. So I think they kind of are due for a letdown.
Yeah, me as well, and I'm really excited to watch that one. Like you said, I think it'll be a lot closer than people think it will be.
Likewise. And our next game, we've got the Washington football team, the Fighting Dan Snyders, taking on the Buffalo Bills. Who do you have?
Well, that's not the worst adjective or verb you could be using for Dan Snyder. I think that Buffalo is going to win by. I think they'll cover. I think they'll win by 7.5 at least. Heineke looked pretty good last week, but I just think there's too much firepower on Buffalo's offense. They're gonna score. I don't know, probably around 30 points in this game, and Buffalo's defense isn't playing poorly at all this year. I mean, I think they've taken a little bit of step back from last season up to this point and where they were. But that being said, I still feel like that secondary and that front seven can get some pressure and go out and cover, the couple skills guys that they have. They're going to make Heineke throw some tight window throws, and he might, throw a pick or two. I wouldn't be too surprised if they have at least 2 turnovers in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. Like, I actually had the Washington football team covering, like losing a close game, but I'm honestly not that sure anymore. I'll go ahead and I'll stick with the Washington football team, though. I mean, their defense has kind of been underwhelming this season. I just feel like 7.5 is a really big number to give to a defense that is that solid. I don't feel like Heineke's been terrible, so I feel like Buffalo's going to win, but I feel like Washington's going to cover.
Yeah, and another reason I feel that way is Buffalo put 35 on the Dolphins, and obviously Tua went out in the first quarter. That doesn't explain how that good Miami defense allowed Buffalo to score 35 on them. So I think that they can put up a similar number, if it's all systems go on offense, and even if it's not, I still think they have 28, 32, somewhere in there. I think Buffalo will score.
Yeah, likewise. And I'm just curious, last thing on it. I think that part of my reason for my picks, I think that the Washington football team is going to be able to get a little bit of their running game going, because Buffalo's kind of played 2 teams that are not great at running the football, because Miami's not very good at it, and neither are the Steelers. So I feel like Washington's got a pretty decent run game. They're going to be able to put at least some rushing yards against a Buffalo defense that has been very stout so far. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. And next up, we've got the Saints taking on the Pats, and the Pats are -3 favorites at home.
I have no idea what to expect from New Orleans. Like last week, that was bad. I think
Unexpected.
I think you can explain that, with the huge 7 coaches missing for the Saints. I think that had something to do with it. They've also they've been playing in Jacksonville or bouncing back and forth between a couple of facilities, due to the hurricane. So I can give them some slack on that. I just don't know what to expect. But I actually have the Saints +3.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think if you kind of average out week 1 and week 2 from the Saints, you're going to have a pretty decent football team. Mac Jones has looked fine, but I think this will be his toughest test. And if Lattimore can come back, I think that'd be really huge for the Saints defense.
Yeah, gotcha. I really am trusting in the Pats defense right now. I mean, they are just flying all over the place and taking care of kids. I mean, I know they played the Jets last week, but they were just all over it. I think that they're going to show up. I think that Mac Jones has kind of hit the ground running in that sense. And I feel like New Orleans, I know they had a letdown last week. I kind of had a feeling that they were due for a letdown. I think they're going to come back and play pretty well, but I feel like New England's going to end up winning by like somewhere from 4 to a touchdown.
Okay.
But for pick wise, you're going with the spread, the Saints +3, but you have the Pats winning, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm just keeping track of both. In our next game, the Chargers taking on the Chiefs at Arrowhead. And KC, this is a huge line in my opinion. KC's a 6.5-point favorite. That surprised me when I saw that.
Yeah, me too. Especially because of like how the last few meetings between the two teams have gone. I think Vegas is just trying to kind of conflate that a little bit. I feel like they are trying to take advantage of the public perception of the two teams. I actually have the Chargers +6.5.
Same.
Yeah, when Tyrod Taylor got stabbed by the medical doctor for the Chargers last year, and Herbert had to go out there was told 2 minutes before kickoff he's gonna start. They went to overtime and they lost by a field goal. A last second field goal in overtime by Butker. I think this is gonna be a way closer game. I even see the Chargers potentially winning it. So I think 6.5 is way too much, and you should definitely take the Chargers in this one.
Likewise, I 100% agree. I think that the Chargers have a very super solid running game with Austin Eckler. I know he hasn't kind of hit the ground running as much as he would like to this season, but they still have a very stout offensive line. Rashawn Slater has hit the ground running. They've got Justin Herbert's a stud. Both games, he won the second one. Granted, it was week 17 against the Chiefs, and we weren't playing anybody, but his arm's ridiculous. Yeah, man. Absolutely ridiculous. He's smart. He knows how to deal with the pressure. I think it's when I saw 6.5, I really was shocked because I really do not think that there's that big of a gap between the teams. So I think that LA's going to cover, but I doubt that the Chiefs are going to lose 2 games in a row.
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs, but I'll take the Chargers money line.
I'll take the Chiefs, but I'll take the Chargers. I got you.
6.5.
Nailed it. All right, our next game, we've got the Bears in Cleveland taking on the Browns, and the Browns are a 7.5-point favorite.
This is a big week for Chicago. Justin Fields is going to be starting his first NFL game, and for that reason, I'm taking the Cleveland Browns -7.5. I think he's still pretty raw. I think Justin Fields is still pretty raw. I think he has a lot to learn and grow into in the position, and I feel like Cleveland's just going to run the ball and tire out that Chicago Bears defense. I think it'll be pretty close until the second half, and I think that Chunt will take over Kareem Hunt and Bradley Chubb. Nick Chubb.
No.
I think Chunt will prevail in the second half.
Yeah, I actually, we are agreeing on a lot of things today. I would agree likewise. I think that it's going to be close to start off with, and I feel like the Bears defense is pretty stout against the run against the pass, but I feel like Baker's not going to have to do too much. Cleveland's going to keep doing what they've been doing, running the crap out of the ball, and they're probably going to score a late touchdown with somewhere from 10 to 14.
Yeah, I see it playing out that way as well.
In our next game, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And the Steelers are -3 favorites.
I have Cincinnati +3.
Nice.
Cincinnati beat the Steelers last year, I believe, at the Steelers. No, because that was the Juju game when Juju was dancing.
Oh, his little Corvette.
Yeah, his little TikTok dance, and he got popped in that game and had a forced fumble. So
I
yeah,
remember that.
I think I just don't have any trust in Pittsburgh's offensive line. They can't run the ball. They don't know what they want to be. They don't have a reputation or an identity on offense. And I think Big Ben, it came out like either yesterday or today that Big Ben has a tricep injury that he's
Yeah.
dealing with, and he already doesn't look good when he's healthy. So I just don't see how that offense is going to play competently. I think they won that low scoring game in week 1 against Buffalo. That was a shocker.
Hmm.
But I feel like last week against the Raiders is a little more like true look at to see what the Steelers are going to be like this year. TJ Watt's dealing with a hamstring injury. They're really banged up on the defensive end of the football, and I think Cincinnati will actually win this game as well. So I'll take them +3 and winning the game.
Okay. It's funny 'cause I actually had the same thing because Cincinnati's defense is ranked 10th in the league right now as it currently stands. I mean, they have been flying around the ball, playing pretty well. I mean, they're surprisingly low on the offensive side of the ball passing wise, but Joe Burrow's the thing that I'm least worried about on that team. I feel like he'll bounce back and be fine. And yeah, with Ben being hurt and them kind of just being a little bit of a train wreck, I really think that Cincinnati's going to cover, but I'll go and I'll pick the Steelers to win the game though. Yeah, honestly, I do not feel confident about that.
I know I have some of these games where I'm not confident about it, but I don't know. It's tough. It's tough with these
Yeah,
spreads.
and Pittsburgh let me down last week, but you know what? Screw it, Pittsburgh. I'll roll with you again. We're gonna have trust in you guys, and I swear to God, if you let me down, I'm never choosing you again. All right, in our next game, we've got the Falcons taking on the Giants in New York. New York is a 3-point favorite at home, and I just picked up Daniel Jones for my fantasy team. I'm not even gonna lie to you; it might have been a terrible decision, but Ryan Tannehill is my quarterback right now, and I need a change.
Yeah. Who do you have in this game?
I'm gonna have to go with the Giants. I feel like just because I picked up Daniel Jones, he's gonna end up playing like crap and have like 2 interceptions. But I feel like the Giants are still the better team. They have so many skill weapons. They are very underrated from a skill position standpoint. It's just they keep finding a way to f off and throw the game away. But I think they have a very solid offense.
Yeah, I feel like they have good skill position players as well. I just am worried about like the amount of money that they've spent on Golladay, and his production's been super low. I have him in one of my fantasy football leagues, and I think within 2 games he has like 98 yards or something like that. Like not what you're looking for number 1 wide receiver. I don't have faith in that Jason Garrett led offense. I mean, I know Jason Garrett had a lot of success in Dallas. Like everybody remembers, but no, all jokes aside, I just don't have faith in them. And I think that I think Atlanta looked a lot better than people thought against the Bucs last week. They put up 25, I want to say. And this is just one of those games for me where it's like it's going to be like in those, leagues where you have to pick the winner or else you're eliminated, and people are like, well, I'm always going to pick against the Falcons. And this is the week a lot of people are going to get removed from those leagues because somehow the Giants will find a way to F it up.
I agree with you. I'm looking at Atlanta stats right now. Yeah, it looks like, let's see, their defense is giving up 6.1 yards per play. They're the 24th ranked passing offense, the 24th ranked rushing offense. Like, it's weird. Like, I mean, offensively, it doesn't seem to be seems to be their biggest issue, which you would never figure with Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley and the squad down there. But yeah, offensively, they have not been. Let's see how many they scored. Yeah, they scored 25 last week against against Tampa Bay, 6 week 1 at New York at 1, kicking off at 1 p.m. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Giants, though. I think that they're gonna get that done. So you're going with Falcons to cover and win?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And our next, this matchup is going to be intriguing. We have the Dolphins taking on the Raiders. Oakland's a -3.5 point favorite, and it's in. Oh, I put Oakland. Oops. Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas.
So you think it's intriguing? Why do you think it's intriguing with Tua being out?
Because I trust Brian Flores. Like, I mean, one, I don't think that Tua was that big of a difference maker to begin with. I kind of feel like he was more of a, I'm shaking the whole table, more of a hindrance than a help to start with. Like, I mean, it's not like you're missing out on Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or anybody like that who kind of is the focal point of your team. Tua was just kind of an accessory to the team. Like, I feel like Jacoby Brissett is as good as Tua is. So I feel like I trust Brian Flores. I trust that defense that still is super solid. Yes, they got torched by Buffalo, but Buffalo has their number. I mean, it is what it is. I trust Brian Flores and that team to bounce back.
Okay. Yeah, when you put it like that makes sense to me. I just feel like Jacoby Brissett's just bounced around the league, and he's had some opportunities to start, and he's been fine. So if he can get the ball to, Waddle finally, maybe have him emerge a little bit as a first-round pick, and get him more involved in the offense. Get Gesicki involved, maybe. I know he's been struggling to get on the field, but maybe Devontae Parker. Will Fuller's supposed to be coming back, I think, this week. So if he can just get the ball out and get him to the playmakers, I think they could hang around in this game. However, I'm taking the Raiders to cover 3.5. Derek Carr has 817 passing yards up to this point. I think he's number one in the league in passing this point. He is playing really well. A little worrisome. It looked like he got rolled up on late in that Pittsburgh game last week, but he hopped up and he actually continued playing. So if he can just stay on the field and ball out like he is, they're getting Ruggs involved finally. Decide maybe not run straight up the sideline every single play. Let him run some routes, and they're looking really good. Waller is dominant as always. Like, he is a monster. He looks so much bigger and stronger than everybody else on the field. It's on a field full of NFL athletes, he just looks different, and that's insane. Like, it's kind of unfair, to be honest. I'm a little jealous, even though we have Kelsey. Like, if Mahomes had Waller, that would be like broken.
Oh, that'd be nuts.
Yeah. So I'll take the Raiders 3.5 and winning.
I think that in this game, their strengths match up pretty well because Miami has a pretty solid passing defense, and the Raiders are garbage at running the ball, and Miami is a garbage run defense. So I feel like their strengths and their weaknesses kind of match up and cancel each other out. So I think it is going to be a through the air battle. But yeah, like I feel like Brian Flores has definitely learned from Bill and is a very similar coach to Bill, where he's going to be able to kind of shut it down. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Miami. And so you have Las Vegas covering and winning?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And in the most exciting matchup of the weekend, we have the New York Jets traveling to the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos are 10.5-point favorites. What are your thoughts on that game?
This actually was the most difficult line for me to decide, because obviously Mr. INT, Zach Wilson, had a terrible performance last week. But you have to remember, it's Bill Belichick. Like I said last week, Belichick hates the Jets. Like, we know this. He was going to bring his A game no matter who was back there. So I still think the Broncos will cover the 10.5. But that's just so many points. I don't know. I don't feel like we've seen a true representation of who Zach Wilson's going to be. And obviously they're not anywhere close to competing this year, but I can see maybe even 3 years out from maybe building that roster to be competitive within their division. Like, it is not looking good at any skill position, at any like offensive line or defensive line position for them, really. Like, Mekhi Becton going out is huge. Lawson, defensive end, going out for them like before the season. Really tough. I'm still going to take the Broncos minus 10.5.
Likewise. Denver's kind of on a roll right now. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is hella consistent. Their rushing game has definitely been picking things up. I think they're going to show up and show out. And just one sec. Let's see. So the Jets actually have the 10th rated passing defense in the 12th. They're defensively, they've honestly not been doing too bad. I mean, they're 10th in passing, 12th in rushing. What offensively they are. Oh, actually, not nearly as bad as I thought. They're 15th, or never mind, they're 29th in passing. and 22nd in rushing. Yeah, offensively, they have not been able to get anything going. See, but yeah, I mean, with that Denver defense, even though I do believe that Bradley Chubb's going to be out, I still think that they're going to show up and show out and take care of business.
Yeah, they've been playing really good on defense, and I just have full faith that they're going to play up to the level that the Patriots did last week.
Yeah, and oh man, I forgot to mention on the Raiders and Dolphins game. I feel like it's a must win, whereas the Raiders don't need to win, don't need the win. But if the Dolphins go 0-3, they're screwed. And just like the Jets, they're not making the playoffs. But starting off 0-3, I mean, your playoff hopes are pretty much gone. Whereas the Broncos are 2-0, but still, I feel like Denver's going to cover. All right, that's sorry, I had to get the thought out there. But the most intriguing of the game of the weekend is, at least in my opinion, has to be the Bucs versus the Rams, and the Bucs are 1.5 point favorites in LA. It's going to be a battle. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this was another really difficult one. This is one I had to take a lot of time. I looked at injury reports, trying to get any nugget of information that might swing things one way or the other. At this point, it's just so hard to pick against Tom Brady. Every single time, it just seems like he has the ball with a minute 40, which is basically 10 minutes in Tom Brady time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take the Bucs -1.5. I think they'll win the game really late, but I think like you said, I think this is the marquee matchup, game of the week easily, and it's gonna be so fun to watch. Like, I'm gonna be glued to that game for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to think that the Bucs have like some substantial weaknesses like the Chiefs do. I mean, the Bucs defense hasn't looked great. I will say, I mean, you did give up 25 points to Atlanta. Dallas did march up and down the field for a while on you guys, but you found a way to win. I mean, Atlanta, that game was never really close. So offensively, I don't think they really have any weaknesses. Their offensive line is super solid. They returned everybody. Tom Brady's looking as everybody's saying, is looking the best he ever has. And I would like to think that they have a weakness, but I mean, this really does kind of remind you of the Patriots of old, where it's like, dear God, like, how do you beat these guys? And so, yeah.
Yeah, it was reported this afternoon that Antonio Brown's on the COVID list, so he will not be playing.
I did see that.
So, I mean, that is like their wide receiver 3 at this point. So, not a huge loss. They will be able to maintain their efficiency, most likely.
Yeah.
Worst case, they'll just have Scotty Miller probably replace him and run his routes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, they'll still have all the weapons available.
I see this game being in like maybe the 40s on both, like for both. I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game, similar to, I could see it being like the Chiefs Rams game in Mexico City.
Oh, that was a great game.
Like 2019.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, like it could be one of those kind of games. So that's how I see it. I think it's going to just be a classic. And unfortunately, I just can't pick against Tom Brady at this point. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'll be taking them.
Interesting aspect of that game. The big thing that everybody's always knocked Matt Ryan for has been his inability to win big games. I feel like in his very short time in LA, this is his first marquee big game. That it's like, okay, you gonna win? You're gonna be that quarterback that everybody thinks that you are, or do you gonna go back to being Lions Matt Stafford, which it was the Lions, so nobody's hating on him for it. But I feel like this is his first opportunity to win a really big game.
Yeah, this is definitely his biggest spot, and I'm really, like you said, I'm really excited to see what he's made of, and if he's as good as we've thought he's been his entire career, but he's just been stashed away in Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this next matchup is also, in my opinion, a really intriguing one. The Seahawks taking on the Vikings. The Seahawks are favored by 1.5, and like I was saying with the Dolphins, I want to believe the Seahawks are going to win, but the Vikings being 0-2, like the Vikings aren't a terrible team. But if they go 0-3, I mean, the likelihood of them making the playoffs, their percentage drops just dramatically. So I feel like it becomes almost not impossible, but much closer to a statistical impossibility, historically speaking, if you start off 0-3 to make the playoffs. So I would like to think that they're going to bounce back, but Russell Wilson in that gang, I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I see the Seahawks winning and covering as well. I think they'll win probably by at least a field goal. in my estimation. I think that Kirk Cousins is, like we said last week, is not good. And he seems to just like crumble in any big spot his entire career. Minus that offensive pass interference call missed, like when they upset the Saints a few years ago in the first round. He just whenever he's challenged and whatever, like especially facing Russell Wilson, he's gonna have to match him in points. Like, can Kirk Cousins do it? Yes, he has the skill players, but I just don't trust him. He's not mobile. And yeah, like I said, whenever things start to break down, his playmaking ability is trash. So I will take the Seahawks.
Gotcha. Give me just 1 second, if you will. I'm looking at the defense really quick because the Seattle defense has not been looking great either. So I'm just kind of curious. I kind of feel like, you know what? Just for the Vikings' sake, I'll go and I'll roll with Minnesota with a +1.5. Just being at home in a must-win situation, I feel like you're just going to get the ball to Dalvin Cook against a rush defense that is not very good at all, and just run the ball down their throats and find a way to win the game. But as a K-State fan, Tyler Lockett out here having the season of his life so far.
Dude, he has been nuts. I mean, yeah, that huge touchdown was a blown coverage, but he had to run the route. I mean, nobody was catching him. Like, yeah, he's fantastic. He was pretty banged up last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he got hurt off and on. I mean, DK Metcalf's kind of been a no-show, but I feel like that's more because they're throwing double coverage his way, so Tyler's been open a lot more. But you do you, Tyler. Get your money.
Yeah, and Swain's been looking good for them. Like, they have a pretty good offense. I think that Shane Waldron's done a really good job changing the offense from Schottenheimer and just capitalizing on Russell Wilson's on his strengths. Like, giving him easier reads, and adding levels to the passing game to where he can check down more easily. Like, it's been looking really good. Minus them imploding last week, but I would say that's more defensive. Derrick Henry just freaking turned it on. But yeah, I think that offense is really good this year, and so I think this will be a crazy ending as well. Like, we got blessed on red zone last week with that late window. It was fantastic, and I could see that repeating this week. So we'll see.
Yeah, heck yeah, I am excited. In our next game, also probably from just a contextual standpoint, the second most intriguing game of the weekend, the Packers traveling to the 49ers. San Francisco's a 3.5-point favorite. I'm kind of torn on this game. What do you think?
Well, Green Bay's in a similar position for me as New Orleans, where you have such a flip-flop performances within a week of each other. I think it'll kind of even out yet again. I like Green Bay at +3.5. I think that game's going to be closer. I think San Francisco will win the game, but I think Green Bay is going to be within the 4.
Gotcha. Let me check this baby out real quick. Dang. Okay. Yeah, actually, honestly, I was kind of with you on that because I really feel like San Francisco's probably just with their rushing offense as good as it has been. I was thinking that they probably are going to win the game, but I think that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to show up and be ready to play. Like, I mean, they had their debacle week 1, but they showed up in week 2. The first half was kind of rough against the Lions, but they got it together. Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers, and everything kind of went from there. I think that, yeah, they're going to show up and see Aaron Jones averaging 3.5 yards per attempt. Yeah, you know what? But actually, I'll take San Francisco to cover and to win. I was just going to pick them to win, but I'm going to take them to cover and to win. So there's a little bit of diversity into these picks.
Yeah, I think that the injuries at the running back position for the 49ers is a little underdiscussed at this point. Like, obviously that's an offense and that's a system where you can kind of plug and play, but they're bringing in guys that aren't on a roster, haven't been for a couple years. I don't know. Like, at what point does it matter like how big and fast and like explosive the back is? They're just having a lot of issues back there right now with Mostert going down. Mitchell has been he had a shoulder injury. And Trey Sermon
he
was
didn't
a
practice today.
scratch. Yeah, scratch and then a concussion on one attempt last week. Like that's not promising. Like it looks similar to Baltimore. But who knows? I mean, Baltimore looked great with like fourth string running backs, so maybe the 49ers will as well.
That's actually what I was going to say. Baltimore, I feel like their system is not similar like tactically, but similar in the fact that you can kind of just plug and play, where the system in and of itself is going to get you a lot of holes and get your running backs a lot of space to run. So I feel like they are, very similar in that aspect where they can kind of just plug and play, keep going. We're going to be able to run the ball. It's what we do. It's our identity. We're going to figure it out. And Jimmy Garoppolo has been playing a lot better this season. I mean, he's got 503 yards so far, averaging 9.1 yards per attempt. He has been showing up trying to protect his job, and I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen from him so far. I mean, they kind of just want him to be a game manager and occasionally make the throws that he needs to, and he's done that. Like I'm impressed with them. I think they're going to cover and they're going to take the game.
That got them to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he continues to play the way he is, I mean they're on that trajectory potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's all they need from him. One throw in the Super Bowl, we're having a completely different conversation about Jimmy Garoppolo. So I feel like everything about him's kind of been incredibly overblown. But for our final game of the weekend, we have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites on Monday Night Football. Who do you have? I know.
I have the Dallas Cowboys covering -3.5. Dak's been fantastic. Last week's game against the Chargers, that was pretty crazy. There was a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of weird, wacky plays. I mean, I think everybody had that game on the over, and that came down like the score was just way lower than people were anticipating, including me. I thought that would be like a shootout in the 30s potentially, but Philly is fine. Like they're average. Like they're competent, but I think the offensive power of the Dallas Cowboys are just gonna put the points on. It's gonna put more pressure on Hurts to throw the ball down the field. His ADOT was just so low in week 1. I think it was like 3.2 yards per attempt. I don't see it. I don't see Philly beating Dallas at Dallas. Maybe they split, but at this point, I just have Dallas beating the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, likewise, I also have Dallas winning the game and covering. I mean, Philadelphia does have a second-ranked rush offense right now. They're averaging 5.4 yards per attempt. Dallas is averaging 5.3. I mean, I feel like that both these teams can run the ball, but in that case, it kind of comes down to quarterback. And I definitely trust Dak a lot more than I trust Jalen Hurts. Nothing against Jalen Hurts, but Dak has recovered from his injury nicely, bounced back, and he's had a hell of a season so far. I think that they're going to be able to just do what they need to do. Let me see. What is Dallas even offensively? They're the 15th ranked offense, but I feel like that's kind of underselling how effective they have been so far, because they've shut up. I mean, they've got the 8th most yards per play. Yeah, I think they're going to show up and they're going to go ahead and take care of business on Monday Night Football. Jerry's going to be happy. Stephen A is going to be sad. Skip Bayless is going to be happy. But life is what it is.
Yes, I'm on the same page as you. Like when Skip's happy, I'm not. So I definitely feel that. I mean, I'll be rooting for the Eagles, but putting my money down would be on Dallas.
Yeah. I think that they kind of came back down to earth a little bit. I know last week the Eagles did. I think that San Francisco's defense is impressive, but it is what it is. And those are our week 3 picks. And looking at our week 2 picks, so we ended up so far the score is you with 6 correct, me with 7 correct. And we will see how week 2 goes. I have a feeling this one's going to go a lot better for you than it is for me, but I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me as well, man. I'm sure I'll be texting you some crap on Sunday about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today, brother. I appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks for having me. As always, a pleasure.
Always. Thanks for joining in, guys. Hope you guys have a good night.